Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Toby,
Hi,
how you
Steve.
doing?
Good to see you.
Good to see you. Good to see you. All right, today, Toby with the selection of Coming to America.
Yeah.
My favorites. So this one came out. When did this come out? 88?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so this one comes out 88 with Eddie Murphy and let's see, Eddie Murphy, directed by John Landis.
Yep.
And to start this off, I wanted to kind of hit on this is like 80s Eddie Murphy. This is like, would you say this is like the peak? Whoops.
Yeah.
The peak Murphy.
Oh, this is in his wheelhouse.
Yeah, this is like everything he touched turned to gold decade.
Mm-hmm.
And so, because I think this is kind of impressive. So he makes 48 Hours in 82, Trading Places in 83. Then he does Delirious, which is, I had that on VHS.
Mm-hmm.
Then he makes Beverly Hills Cop in 84. I mean, this dude is like hitting 1,000.
And he's like 24 years old.
Yeah, he's so young.
Yeah.
And then he does some music in 85. He Party All the Time. He works with Rick James.
Right.
Oh, and he does Best Defense with Dudley Moore, like in 83, I think. But I think that bombed. But that was more of a Dudley Moore vehicle.
Yeah.
He does Golden Child in 86. The second Beverly Hills Cop in 87. Then he comes to Coming to America, which I think, for me anyways, was kind of... and after that, it was...
Right. I'd agree with that.
Yeah, downfall. Well, did you see this in the movie theater?
I did,
you see this
yes.
at home? All right. Well,
yes.
Tell me about that.
Yeah, so let me just, before we jump too far into it, the reason why I picked this movie is because within the last 10 days or so, depending on when you listen to this, late September, we lost James Earl Jones.
Oh, yeah.
And 2 days ago, we lost John Amos. And I don't remember what we were going to cover this time. I had one that
I think it was Ferris Bueller's Day.
It was probably Ferris Bueller because we're kind of sticking with that genre. We talked a lot about John Hughes, but when John Amos passed away, the first thing that came to my mind is that these two incredible actors passing away, who were good friends, passing away within 10 days of each other. And the first thing that came to my mind was how much I enjoyed them in Coming to America. And so that was so rest in peace to James Earl Jones and
Here.
John Amos. They will be missed.
Yes, definitely, man. Especially when John Amos and James Earl Jones, obviously with the Star Wars, but he did Field of Dreams. He did a lot of other stuff in the before the 70s or the 80s that I'm not really aware of. But yeah, they were great. They were giants in the industry for sure.
Absolutely. So it's 1988. I'm pretty sure I went and saw this in the theater with my friend Mark, who the two of us were obsessed with Eddie Murphy. From the Saturday Night Live, Kill My Landlord, the first thing he was ever on in Saturday Night Live, hooked from that moment on. Mr. Robinson's Neighborhood, Gumby, the one where they put him in all the makeup and he walks around as White Man.
Yeah, Mr. White. Yeah,
Mr. White is like that experiment, and he looks, the character that he plays in this, the one of the guys, the old man in the barbershop who's over there, looks like he's 80 years old or whatever, is so shocking to see because you do not realize that that's Eddie Murphy.
Yeah,
you just
I didn't think so.
Incredible makeup work. He's you can't tell Tim by his voice, his manner. He never gets out of that chair. So it's just so well done. And Sorry, that's Carlos has some things to say about it too.
He loves it too.
He loves
like,
it.
Hey, don't forget James Brown.
Oh my God, Celebrity Hot Tub.
Thanks, Carlos.
Yeah, good looking out, bud. So saw it in the theater in Santa Rosa, and it was different than his other ones because, of course, being a fan of the Beverly Hills Cop movies, Trading Places.
Oh yeah.
This is set in the same world as Trading Places.
Yeah.
It's not a sequel necessarily, but it's definitely in the same universe, which was also a John Landis movie.
Right. Yeah.
So,
and that's Go ahead. Sorry.
No, you go ahead. That's what I was.
That's it, and it's funny because when they made this movie, they were kind of in a tiff because, of course, John Landis was in that lawsuit when those people got killed on his set in Twilight Zone.
That's right.
And he was upset that Eddie wouldn't come and support him or didn't say anything in the press about supporting him and stuff. And, I feel like, or he felt like, okay, well, here's this movie here. Why don't you direct it? And, that was his kind of way of supporting him, but Landis, I guess, didn't see it that way or something. So they had a tiff, which I think they've made up since then. But
yeah, well, they would go on. He would go on and have John Landis. I think they did make up by the end of this. And then when it came time to make Beverly Hills Cop 3.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah,
Eddie Murphy said John Landis should direct this.
Right.
So they had made up. Not a movie that we need to discuss at all.
Yeah, I don't think. That there's a sentiment out there too that Beverly Hills Cop 2 is better than Beverly Hills Cop, which I don't subscribe to, but maybe you do. I don't know.
I don't subscribe to that, but I can see they're totally different.
Right. Yeah.
It's rare that a sequel's better than the original, but if people, I won't argue with you. If you like that one, that's the one with the race track, and if they want to live in a donut, let them live in a donut. Right.
That's right.
Stop the hammering.
Yeah, that is it.
Yeah.
I was gonna say something and I totally spaced it. Anyways, I'll come back.
We'll be right back.
We'll be right back. Yes. Yeah, I remember watching it too in the theaters. Because this was, like you said, this was the time when, if anything with Eddie Murphy's name was on it, you'd go out and you'd go watch it, regardless if it was. And at that time, it was all, like I said, he was batting 1,000, so it wasn't like, ooh, he's taking a risk here. He's doing something different. And I was at an age too where I kind of wanted to. I enjoyed his humor. I don't know anybody that didn't, but yeah, I mean, and he was coming off Golden Child and Beverly Hills Cop 2. So, what did you think of Golden Child? Did you like that movie?
Love Golden Child.
Yeah,
with Charles Dance as
Noomsy, that's what it is.
He's so good and he's so terrifying in that, and you believe that he is a demon.
Yeah.
And it's just a really unexpected movie. Like the end when he's got to get through there's no ground, Monty, and all that is like as a teenager when it comes out, or early teens in '85. So I'm 13. So this is tripping you out. You're like, this is crazy to get this knife. All these things, the hoops this guy's got to jump through. So I am a fan of Golden Child, not Beverly Hills Cop 2 as much as others, but he's just such an enjoyable person to watch. At the time, he's likable.
Yeah,
he's not always playing the nicest person in the world, but you believe him. They're like character studies where you're just following his character around through the whole thing, and how he can carry that. He's carrying in a lot of these movies. He's in every single scene. So
yeah, that's true. I never thought of that.
It's a lot of work. So for him to do this with John Landis and his best friend Arsenio Hall, seeing the two of them together, I think that's for the first time in a movie, is a lot of fun because I know how tight they. I think they're still very tight.
Yeah.
They were, he always considered Arsenio as his best friend going back to the 80s.
Yeah. Well, I think what works too is, and what I think what Murphy kind of got away from in the 90s. And I mean, he tried to go back to it in that film Metro. Did you ever see that film Metro with him in it? It's like came out in like 98,
No, I don't know that I
97,
did.
95. Well, um, I think what always worked with Eddie Murphy was that combination of his comedic timing, but also some drama and maybe some seriousness. So you have that mixture because 48 Hours, that was a Walter Hill movie. So, Walter Hill is going to bring the violence and bring that edge to it. And that's what was so great about Beverly Hills Cop was you had his kind of outlandishness, and he was doing different characters in that movie too.
Yeah, that's right.
But it was also a serious, serious as you can be about Beverly Hills, but it's like, this art dealer who, traffics drugs. And so I think that always led to his success because he could always bring some levity to like a really serious scene and maybe not make the whole film serious. And it just brought his magic to it. And I think he got away from that as he got bigger and bigger. He was doing he started doing, what was that animal guy? Doolittle.
Oh, Dr. Doolittle.
Yeah, I started doing those, which, for people that like it, that was great. But I always liked that edgy Eddie Murphy. And did you watch the Legacy sequel that came out on Netflix? Beverly Hills Cop Axel F.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So I think now it's just a different time. And, some things worked about that. Some things didn't. But I could see that he's trying to kind of recreate that magic from back in the 80s. And it's just a different time, It
is.
So, but
it's hard to do. It's hard to go back in time and get that magic back.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's right.
So anyway, Coming to America, I mean, he is... Holy shit.
He's 20. He turns 21. It opens up on his birthday. 21. Yeah. Sure. Full mustache and 21 years old. He finds out that he's going to be who his bride to be is going to be.
Yeah.
One of the things is I really took a look at what was going on in the background in these opening scenes in Zamunda, in the fictional country of Zamunda, which is loosely based on one of Richard Pryor's jokes.
Oh, really?
It is. Like the words, they changed it to Zamunda, but he was in one of his stand-ups, who's Eddie Murphy's mentor.
Oh, yeah.
He joked about an African country called Zamunda.
Oh.
There's Muda or something like that. And John Landis loved that. And he goes, let's just make that a real place, but let's call it Zamunda. It reminds me of the decadence of this country is next level. I mean, they just go way above and beyond. I mean, they've got people drop the rose petal attendants who they can't walk unless they're walking on rose petals, and a servant for every single thing. He's woken up in the morning by a full orchestra with just like a whole back row of just French horns, and you're like, this is so. It's just it's hilarious in that. Right. You're like, this is every morning. This is how this guy wakes up every morning. But on his door to his bedroom, before they go outside, there's a massive volcano. And I never saw it before. But this time I'm like, so he's about to leave this bedroom, and it's a fish out of water story. He's coming to America, and he's going to have to live, once again, another fish out of water story, right? Beverly Hills Cop's a fish out of water story. Yeah, Golden Child's a fish out of water story. You're going to go to this place, you have no idea what's going on, and make it work. And he does that very, very well. Yeah. But the idea that he's going to leave his bedroom with this volcano that's erupting on the door, I was like, what do you think that means? That he's going into like the fire. He's going into like destruction. Is this like he's I don't know if it, you know, maybe I'm thinking too much about it, but I was like, that's a really interesting choice that everything is so safe and clean and protected, and yet on his door he's got this massive volcano. I was like, what? I'm not sure what they were going for here, but just maybe traveling into the unknown. I don't know.
Yeah, stepping into the fire, like because I think for me the movie starts, as you said, it's a fish out of water. So for me, the movie starts when he gets to New York. I love all the other stuff, like
I could see that, yeah.
But for me, the hilarity starts when he gets to LA or New York.
Right. Yeah. Well, the choices are infinite. Where should we go? New York or LA?
Yeah.
I mean, just that one line where the choices are infinite, and once again, it's either going to be this place or this place. It ends up being a binary choice and not an infinite choice. They're just like, well, if you're going to go to America, you're going to go over here or you're going to go over here.
And I remember it must have been like maybe 5-6 years ago during the playoffs, I believe, the baseball playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
And during the 7th inning stretch, they had this gentleman from one of the armed forces. I think it was like either the Navy or the Air Force or something. But he was coming out to sing "God Bless America" in the 7th inning, and he comes out and he's just like, "God," the high falsetto.
Oh, right.
And I immediately tweet out the "She's your queen." Yeah. I mean, it could have been the exact same, but that was hilarious, man. I just remember, that. I always go back to that every time I watch that scene. I just go back to that baseball game.
The over-the-top singer where he's just belting this out is
it's like the wedding song, and everybody's just like.
Well, at the end, he finishes that last note, and then he just goes back to. Like, he's bored to death of this whole thing. Like, this is ridiculous. Oha's great. That's a great character in this.
They did on YouTube. I think you can find the pilot episode of a. They made this into a TV show, and Tommy Davidson.
Oh, wow.
Plays, I guess, Eddie Murphy's cousin or something like that. I can't remember. But that guy reprises his role, and he's like the guardian, and he watches and makes sure that Tommy Davidson doesn't. Yeah, it's on YouTube. You can check it out. I've seen it. It was like, I think it was part of like must-see TV at that time or something.
All right.
Anyways, go ahead. Keep going with. So they go to New York, right?
Well, the theme of this is that the reason why he shouldn't be able to go, this is an arranged marriage. This is what happens in this country. We arrange marriages on your 20th birthday. Right. And he's like, I want to do something different. I want to actually find love. Right. And the word tradition gets thrown around a lot. Like, you don't do that. This is already set up for you. It's tradition. Yeah. And Prince Akeem says, it's also tradition that times must and always do change. And I was like, that's the theme. That's the theme of the movie right there.
Yeah. Good one.
And then they go to New York.
Yeah. And that's, I mean, I think, even when they get to their apartment or whatever they rent out there, and then the barbershop underneath.
Yep.
I mean, that's just. I think that was the beginning. I mean, he did some character stuff in Beverly Hills Cop, but, and I think he always has. Did he do anything in like 48 Hours?
Oh,
but,
he didn't dress up as to be a completely different. He's playing multiple roles in the same.
I think this is where it all started. Yeah.
Because after that, then he goes on, like you said, Dr. Dolittle becomes a big part of where he's playing 6 different characters in the movie. The Clumps, where he's playing, everybody at the dining room table. Hercules. I mean, it just, it's so good. Like, that wasn't, I thought this was his idea. And it turns out this was John Landis's idea. Oh. And he was paying homage to Peter Sellers, who would do this in the Pink Panther movies. Oh. And Eddie loved it. He was like, "Oh, dude, I'll play everybody in this whole movie." Yeah, but he was all about it. And so you see that incorporated more into the where you were saying 88. Then he starts kind of dropping off, and you have a bunch of like Pluto Nash and other things in there where everyone's like, "Oh boy, what is he? He must not have paid his IRS bill the last 6 years, and he's got to take every gig that comes along now." No, it was just bad writing and
well, I think that was his Hudson Hawk. I mean, and I love both of those movies. Pluto Nash is my guilty pleasure. I mean, there's so much wrong with that movie. I mean, it's Pluto Nash is like, but I mean, I don't know. It's just one of those things where you just kind of,
you tell me, dude, because I've erased it from my mind. I don't remember any. It was a space movie, and they're like, that was all I got.
I own it. I bought it. Oh my God. I love that those like artists' indulgence, where they think, all right, if I control everything and if I can do everything, then it'll be a hit. I feel like that's their their passion project, or they're like kind of like Hudson Hawk when Bruce Willis was coming off of Die Hard. He was coming off of all these Mortal Thoughts with Demi Moore. He was Bonfire of the Vanities, so he had all this clout, even though he wasn't really hitting it out of the park. Blind Date with Blake Edwards, he was doing all these things, and then he gets to a point where now he has money, he has clout, he can open a movie, all this kind of stuff. So he says, "Hey, here's this idea that I have for a movie," which is just ridiculous from the get-go. Have you ever seen Hudson Hawk?
I've seen Hudson Hawk. I don't remember a whole lot about it, but yes, that is a good comparison between those two. Yeah. But I didn't realize that Pluto Nash was Eddie Murphy's idea. And he was like, people are going to come see it because it's me.
Right.
And I don't care how bad the script is. It's me, and they're going to come see me. And then it was like, oh, boy.
Yeah. I mean, you have, there's just a lot of people in Pluto Nash. Like, what was the guy from, he was Popeye Doyle. And, no, he wasn't Popeye Doyle. He was in that Raymond sitcom, Everybody Loves Raymond. He was the dad. I forget his name.
Oh, God. Yeah. Jerry Stiller.
Oh, no. Maybe it was the wrong
one. No, that's King of Queens. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'd have to look it up. I don't have my computer today, so I'm kind of running on bare.
Is that what's going on?
Yeah, I have my phone, but my phone's being used right now.
Gotcha.
I don't have my computer, but
I see.
I mean, what were we talking about? Pluto Nash. Yeah, there's so many great people in that movie, but it's just Pam Grier is in it, and the guy that's in everything. He was in The Matrix. He was the guy that double crosses everybody, and
Joe
Pantoliano.
Yeah, he's great. He was great in Sopranos and
La Bamba. Which we should do.
Bamba.
We should do a deep dive on that one.
What a huge pull. That movie's a lot longer than it needs to be. Sorry that we're getting off track. Yeah. We can cut all this out. We'll be right back. I just wanted to hear the song, and I love Lou Diamond Phillips because he was in Young Guns, and another one that needs to go on our list. Obsessed with that movie. I'm not sure how. I mean, some of it holds up, I'm sure. We haven't really gotten into the Brat Pack much at all, and that's the freaking Brat Pack right there in the old West. So,
that's a good one.
I think the Arsenio Hall really steals the show. in this movie, and obviously you've come to watch Eddie Murphy, and his barber is amazing. Randy Watson is amazing, but Reverend Brown, the character Reverend Brown that he made up for the Black Awareness Week. First of all, I'm like, wait, it was a week? What is that? I mean, all these little tongue-in-cheek jokes is so good. Like, you just, wait, what?
Oh, shit. That's what amazes me about, sorry, man, my light just.
No, you're all right.
I'm a mess this week, dude. I don't know what's going on here.
It's all right. It's been a long week for both of us.
But that's what I loved about this movie or just comedies in general. The thing that really, and this movie does it in spades, but it's like this subtlety of a lot of little things that happen, like when Randy Watson is singing,
yeah,
and he doesn't sing the right. I mean, it's in the order of the lyrics on the last verse or whatever that he sings.
Yeah.
It's just little flourishes like that, of like, and
the greatest love of when he's singing the greatest love of all. Is that what you're talking about? When he's just taking liberties on.
Because the greatest love of all. Or no, what is it? It's show them all the beauty they possess inside. Give them a sense of pride. Just little things like that, man.
True. That's absolutely true.
And that's one of my favorite scenes. We'll get to that later, but yeah, that's one of my favorite scenes. But yeah, so then he gets they get to New York.
Yep.
And they're trying to find women. They go to the bar and they meet some crazy women.
Yes.
Some
including Arsenio Hall.
Yeah. I just want to eat you up.
You can tell Eddie's trying not to laugh during that whole scene. He's like, this is so ridiculous.
And then that's when, and then they go, oh, no, you can't meet women there. You got to go where I'm going to go tonight. And that's when he meets Randy Watson in Sexual Chocolate, which is fantastic. I think, they redo it in Coming to America too, but the first one is just, this first performance is just my favorite. It's probably my favorite scene in the movie, but yeah.
You like the Black Awareness Week where they're in the auditorium and passing the donations.
Oh, I thought that was the trash. Oh, he good.
Yeah, good.
Terrible.
Good, terrible. There's just, you can tell he's just having way too much fun making this.
Oh man, yeah, exactly, and that comes through, man. Because when you watch that scene, you're just giggling the whole time, or at least
totally.
I'm just giggling the whole time, because you know what lines are coming, and when you don't see it for a while, because I see parts all the time. I'm on YouTube all the time. But when you see it, you kind of, even though you know what's coming, it still has that effect on you of like just giggles and laughter.
I would sit in that barbershop and listen to those guys just tell completely nonsense stories to each other. Frank Sinatra came in here. Hey, Frank, you hang out with Joe Louis. He said Joe Louis is 137 years old. Straight face. I don't know how they got through this whole thing.
Oh shit, dude, that's crazy. So what comes after that? What comes after that scene?
They refer to Akeem in the barbershop. They refer to Akeem as Kunta Kinte.
Hey, it's Kunta Kinte.
Yeah. So, which is an homage to James Earl Jones, who played Kunta Kinte in Roots.
Was that Roots Part 2? Because I thought it was
he played the older. He played the older.
Older version.
Yes,
because the younger one was LeVar Burton, right?
LeVar Burton. That's right. Yeah. So I thought that was. I was like, I don't think I'd ever really put that together again until watching it this time, and I'm like, because you know with the James Earl Jones and Darth Vader and all the different what you know might be overlooked is that you think of LeVar Burton as Kunta Kinte, but later in the movie when he's grown up, it's James Earl Jones.
I thought it was John Amos was in that as well, right?
Yes, that's right.
So yeah, it's kind
They're
of
both in that one. Yeah.
Yeah. So after that, they go and they get jobs at McDowell's.
At McDowell's, yeah.
Because they find out that
who is John Amos.
Yeah, they find out who the girl that Prince Hakeem falls for works there and owns it or whatever. And again, there's a lot of like little subtle things of, you know how to mop, don't you? Oh yes, you know. And
So John Amos worked. His first acting gig, I think, was he was in a McDonald's commercial in like the early 70s, mopping.
No way.
And so the whole thing about grab a bucket and a mop, is there. It's just little tributes throughout this whole thing.
Oh, jeez.
That John Landis put all these things in here that are like, oh, he's going to run McDowell's, because he actually did work for McDonald's. It was in Canada. And he worked for McDonald's and then was in the commercial and then went into acting. And so the first thing he was in was this McDonald's commercial.
Oh, wow.
And that's where the whole bucket and mop thing comes from for this movie. It's a little tribute. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Isn't that wild?
Yeah.
It's little things like that where you're like, you don't know why it's in there when you're 13, 14, 15-year-old sitting in a movie theater in Santa Rosa. Yeah. You're not picking up on any of this stuff.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah, I really like that. When you were talking about what callbacks. You know, the elephant when they're out strolling around before they leave for America, the baby elephant runs by and he's like, "Hello, Babar."
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
We just talked about that in the Fletch episode that we did where he was, you know, Babar. Isn't there a children's book about an elephant named Babar? That was a callback for us, though. That's, I mean, Babar is obviously an elephant book, but the Cuba Gooding Jr. is the kid getting his hair cut.
Right. Yeah. And so this came out in 88. Boys in the Hood, what, comes out in 91?
Yes.
90?
Yes.
Somewhere around there. So, yeah, that was a, you know, at the time, we just didn't know that was just an extra guy or whatever. But
yeah, he doesn't have any lines. He's just sitting in the chair getting his hair cut when the team and, oh, shoot, his Semi, yeah. I will tell you this, as they're working in the restaurant, and you know, obviously he's there with ulterior motives. He's trying to get close to the daughter of Mr. McDowell, and not a whole lot of restaurant talk other than the stick up with Samuel L. Jackson.
Yeah.
Louis Anderson is one of my all-time favorites. He's talk about fish out of water. I mean, they're down on Queens Boulevard.
Yeah.
And he's the guy back there washing lettuce.
And you know he took that long bus ride to get there to work every day.
Probably. He probably did because it's a little weird, but he was their pick. He was Eddie Murphy's pick. Him and Arsenio Hall said the studio wanted a white comedian to be in it.
Oh, okay.
And they gave him a list of names of people to pick, and they're like, well, Louis Anderson's hilarious, so we'll pick Louis Anderson. So that's how he got the job.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that. I thought it was just kind of he was a hot comic at the moment. He was
so good.
Yeah.
Oh, my God. I miss that guy. Another RIP right there. There's a lot of progressive notes in this. Like it's very like we got to, tradition is very kind of Zamunda is this is the tradition and we arrange your marriage. It's very kind of old school. And then when they come, he's gonna, he's looking outside. Maybe tradition is, the thing that his character, and I forget what his character is, the old man, the old Jewish man who's sitting there. He's dressed up like the old Jewish guy.
Yeah.
He says they talk about Muhammad. They're talking about boxing, and he's like, his mama call him Clay. I'm gonna call him Clay. All that, and he does this. He has this little speech where he says, "If a man wants to be called Muhammad Ali, God damn it, this is a free country. You have to respect his wishes and call him Muhammad Ali." And I was like, "That's really forward thinking for an old 90-year-old man sitting at a barbershop in Queens." So. I wrote that down. I was like, that's...
Well, there's a lot of gems like that,
Yes.
Like that one earlier you were talking about, about tradition.
That's right.
And it's also tradition that things must and always will change. I think that's kind of a heavy theme in this obviously in this movie, because when he gets to New York, there seems to be a different type of tradition, which is in the family of John Amos and all that, which is, it's not necessarily arranged, but it's almost kind of the same. You're rich. Oh, he's rich. You have to. And so she's facing the same dilemma that he is. And it kind of makes it sweet when they kind of find each other and they come together. So.
Well, yeah, because they're having that holiday party that Akeem and Simi are asked to come park cars for.
Yeah.
And what happens in they make an announcement, and the dad gets up, John Amos's character gets up and says, "Well, I've got some good news. Yeah. They're getting married." So she's in an arranged marriage too.
Right, exactly.
I mean, that's kind of shocking where you're like, this guy really just, she's never been asked. I don't see a ring on this finger. Right. He just went over and said, "Hey, let's go ahead and make this announcement." They've already decided for her.
Right, exactly. So, I mean, it's like, it's almost the same conditions that she's, not the same, but it's almost like the same obstacles that are in front of her fighting for her independence. And, he's doing the same, but he's just not, which I always found that like, that's the only nick I have. And it's just a small one, but it's, cause if I like someone and they didn't tell me that they were rich and I find out, and then they're like, "Well, I just didn't want you to like me just because I had a lot of money." I mean, I feel like I would be like, well,
yeah,
that kind of makes sense.
I don't know. You wouldn't be furious and just be like, "How dare you not tell me that you're a trillionaire?"
Right.
So, that'd be okay. I'd probably get over it pretty quick. I mean, I don't want to sound shallow, but it is really. I mean, again, people with the principles. She's got.
Right.
He was lying to her.
Right.
He was pretending to be something that he's not. You can understand why that would be upsetting.
Yeah. That is true. That is true.
So I can understand why you'd be upset, but at the end, to jump to the end, they do touch on that where you're like, wow, she was really pissed, and then he's like, "I renounce my throne," and then then at the very end where they're riding off, the last joke of the whole thing is he's all, "I don't know, we could still give all this up if you want." She's all, nah. So there kind of brings it back. You're like, okay, good, because I was starting to get worried. You're upset that these people are wearing clothing that's literally made of gold.
Yeah. Right. So I know we touched on some of this, but what are some of your favorite scenes in the movie? How many do you have?
I watched this over and over and over again because I had forgotten about this scene where Semi goes to send the telegram.
Uh-huh.
And he fills the form out and he hands it over to the teller, and she is fantastic. She's like, "You really want to send this?" He's like, "Read it to me." And here's what the subtlety. She's like, "To His Highness King Jaffe Jaffer." Just she's like, this is the most ridiculous thing I've ever read, and here it is.
Oh man.
And she's like, your humble servant, Semi. And he's like, do you think it's a little, should we ask for more? And she's all, sure.
Yeah.
I mean, her whole delivery in this whole, and I had to look up, I'm like, who is this? I watched it 5 times, crying, laughing. She's just so like, she's looking at him like, you're an insane person. You just sent this to some country I've never heard of.
Oh man, that is a good one. And there's so many like that in this movie. It's just kind of like the humor is very.
Still laughing about it. She's like exasperated by this. She's seen it all, and now she's like, "This is nuts." He's all on me to go for a cool $1 million.
Oh shit. Let's see. Well, I already said one of mine. I said the Randy Watson and Sexual Chocolate.
Yeah.
But all the barbershop scenes for me are gold.
Incredible.
I mean, you can't really go wrong in any of those scenes.
That's right.
Because I think also it just demonstrates the depth. I mean, not even the depth, but like the humor, Eddie Murphy's humor, but also how he works with, because he has that other guy in there that's in all of his movies. He was in Trading Places. He was the guy that he was like sharing a cell with. And when he was talking about, oh yeah, he's trying to do karate. Do you remember that scene at the beginning? Oh, he's with this little dude, and that dude is in all of Eddie Murphy's like movies, it seems, or most of them, not everyone.
Is he the one is he the character who's in the bar, one of the 3?
Yeah, he's the one
he's from Mighty Sharp to the 3 Putzes.
Yeah, no, he's the guy that's like, oh, he good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I've seen him in a lot. You're right.
Yeah.
I didn't realize he's always in.
Well, he's in a lot of them. He's in Trading Places.
Okay.
I don't know if he's in 48 Hours.
Okay.
He's in, Beverly Hills Cop. I want to say I saw him in a couple other ones, but I can't for right now.
Okay. Is he like the Rob? Is he like the Rob Schneider of the Eddie Murphy library of films? When the Sandler's always got Schneider in there somewhere.
Yeah, although he's a little more of just kind of like a glorified extra. He'll have a couple of lines, but then that's about it.
Okay.
Like he had in this one. This one is like, oh, he good.
He's so happy.
Yeah, you got another one? You got any other ones?
Well, hey, Stu, the rent's due.
Oh.
Falling down the stairs is, I mean, that's just, it's so good. And I say it every month.
Yeah.
Every time I change the calendar on the wall in here, from one month to the next, in my head, every single time without fail, my internal monologue goes, the rent's due, motherfucker. And it just makes me smile. It is so good.
Yeah. That's a good character too. I like the whole we got a sort of a bug infestation. What is it?
Right.
But you guys from Africa were used to that.
Right.
It's just like Jesus. Oh, okay. Let's see. We kind of already hit on this, but some favorite cameos or secondary characters.
Yeah.
We got the Cuba Gooding, and then we had Samuel Jackson, and then Louis Anderson. Is there another one? Or is there? I kind of want to think. I think that's pretty much it, right? I can't remember anymore.
There's other little things where, well, you have the Duke boys.
Oh, that's right.
Randolph and Mortimer, of course, where he gives the money to them. We're back. And which makes it, that's, at that point you go, it's not a sequel.
Right.
But it's set in the same universe. And we hadn't seen things like that before, really. Not at the time, not in 88. We didn't have a lot of those.
Yeah.
I mean, now with Marvel it's the whole genre, and what we're on phase 5 or whatever of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, where you're just if you haven't watched all of them, you feel like you're definitely missing part of the story.
Right.
Where it's like, well, I don't understand who these characters are. Oh, you didn't watch WandaVision then?
Yeah. Right.
And I'm like, okay, well then I'll watch WandaVision, and I enjoyed it. I didn't have any idea what was happening.
Right.
And so
that was me too.
They're really asking a lot of the audience to. The reason why this joke is funny is because of this other thing over here that you may or may not have seen. It's totally different. Trading Places is different than Coming to America. He's playing different. I mean, he's not. You don't have Jamie Lee Curtis that pops in this movie, and no other characters. You have the payoff, which is Randolph and Mortimer lost everything because of Trading Places, because of pork bellies and frozen orange juice and all the commodities that they didn't, they won.
Right.
Eddie Murphy and Dan Aykroyd's characters won in that, and these guys are literally living on the streets with gloves with the fingers cut off and the whole thing.
Yeah,
and they're not talking to each other. I'm still not talking to you. But then they've got, I don't know, maybe $75,000 in cash, and now they're going to start their empire back up. And maybe they do. We don't know.
Well, and it works itself into the plot is like, when they're, thank you.
That's right. That's right.
You have such an effect on people.
Oh, that's right. The character, when they're at the game,
the
guy with all the beverages, that's a cameo, and I should have written his name down, but he's been in a lot of these movies as well. It's like, you're Royal Highness.
Yeah. He plays, I think, he plays one of the assassins in Malcolm X, I think. Spike Lee's Malcolm X.
Good knowledge.
Which we should probably that would be great. I love
Malcolm X was amazing.
Yeah. And, but yeah, that's another one. So do you think this could be remade today?
Oh, sure. I think it probably has been remade. Yeah. It's just, we don't think of it as, this has been remade, and I can't think of exactly what names of any titles, but this idea where you're royalty, but you got to hide it, and will they still love me even though I just want somebody to love me for me?
I guess so, Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of those storylines.
Like rom-coms.
Who?
Like a rom-com.
Yeah, there is that. There's like half of the Hallmark movies are, I believe, someone going, well, I just need to make sure they actually love me for me.
Yeah.
You could say American Psycho has almost got some touches on that, where he just wants, how much of that is happening in his mind versus what's happening in real life. Is every time you watch it, it becomes a different movie, which is very true to the book. The dance scene at the beginning when they're announcing the new princess.
Yeah,
is they do the Thriller dance.
Oh yeah, well that was choreographed by Paula Abdul.
That's right.
Yeah, she choreographed all that stuff.
I mean, it's essentially the end of the Thriller dance. It's just step for step from Thriller, dude. You're like, that's kind of cool.
Which John Landis directed.
Oh, he did direct it. Oh man,
he directed the Thriller video. I remember
you used to be able to rent the making of the Thriller video at Blockbuster or at your local video store, and it's like an hour and a half long. It's insane.
Yeah, it was the first. I think it was the first VHS you could buy. They'd made it commercially available, so it was like $30.
I think you're right.
And it had the video at the beginning, and then like, welcome to the making of Thriller, and then the last half of it was like the making of it, which was, I mean, I played that as much as I played the video. and
Oh,
probably
for
even
sure.
more so because it had that interview with John Landis and Michael Jackson, and where he was like, so he calls me, not knowing that it's 8-hour difference between LA and London, where I was at the time. So he
Yeah.
calls me at 2 a.m. and he says, hey, I love all your stuff and I want you to come in. And so I asked him, I said, so have you seen Animal House? No. Have you seen Kentucky Fried Movie? No. Have you seen Trading Places? No. So it's a pretty eventful afternoon at the Michael Jackson residence. And they're just roasting each other back and forth.
That's good.
Yeah,
I like
because
that.
he did Landis was, let's see, he did Kentucky Fried Movie. Have you seen that movie?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, I think my pot smoking was that was at the beginning of my pot smoking career when I was a wee lad. And
Did he do
we used
Strange
to.
Brew as well?
Did he do? No, I don't know. I don't think so.
Because that was the SCTV guys.
Yeah, that was Canadian.
Yeah, yeah.
And I remember actually, that's so weird that you brought that up because when I was in, when I was in elementary school in Sacramento, I stayed the night at my friend's house and we went to his aunt's house who had this brownstone in Sacramento. It was a really nice one. And we slept in like her office, and her office had a TV in it and everything. And we watched, what did we watch? We watched Strange Brew.
Nice.
And I remember laughing my butt off.
Yeah.
And I think I was 10 years old at the time, maybe. But after we watched that, he's like, hey, I got this cassette of Eddie Murphy's. And it was his stand-up like cassette or stand-up album. A lot of the material on that album was delirious, but then he had different things. And he wasn't saying it to an audience. He was actually the character. So you had all these sound effects of, the ant falling down the stairs and the uncle starting the backyard on fire. It was just, so yeah, that's kind of cool you brought that up because I was going to bring that up as a kind of a note.
Nice.
A side note, yeah. So yeah.
That Bob and Doug McKenzie.
Yeah, that's what it was. Yeah,
that was
they get locked
man.
inside the tank, the tank of the beer, and they just drink it. Oh man,
got to do what you got to do.
Yeah. Okay, so I think we already answered this one, which is this Eddie Murphy at the peak of his career?
Yeah, you could say this. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say I think Beverly Hills Cop, I think was his peak, and this was kind of on the downside, but it was still, because after this, I think we talked about it. I think after this, he kind of went into his Dr. Dolittle stage, and
right,
yeah, he didn't do much after this. I don't think.
Not until there was a lot of those. We're going to do the Clumps 4, and
yeah,
but then when Shrek comes around,
oh yeah,
and Donkey's my favorite character in the Shrek movies.
Yeah.
And it's because it's Eddie Murphy being that over the top Eddie Murphy. He goes back to being the very it's such a lovable character. You love freaking Donkey. You love that the dragon falls in love with Donkey because of course the dragon would fall in love with Donkey. But it's him at that over the top Eddie Murphy early 80s.
Yeah.
And, I mean, he ran the 80s. He really did.
Yeah, that was biggest star of the 80s.
And after that, I don't know what comes after it. Probably should have looked it up, but at a certain point, you're like, I think we don't have to see the Eddie Murphy movies in the theater because there were so many that were getting cranked out, and it was just a factory of movies.
Well, I know that the late 90s, like I said, there was that one he did called Metro, which was filmed in San Francisco, and it was filmed at the time. Let's see, it came out in 90. I don't know what year it came out. I want to say like 97.
Okay.
And then he did what's the one with Steve Martin, Bowfinger.
Oh, Bowfinger was great,
dude. That was.
Playing two different characters in that one.
Yeah, that was an incredible. I thought after that he was on his way back. I was like, okay, cool, he's back. He's gonna make some more cool movies, and then he just kind of disappeared again until like I think, well, he did Norbit and all that, but I think that was He did Dreamgirls in 06, I think it was, or 07.
Oh yeah.
And he was great in that one. He got nominated for an Oscar for that one.
Dreamgirls, Vampire in Brooklyn.
But that was the 90s. That was the early 90s. Vampire in Brooklyn, yeah.
That's where he had finally got to work with Richard Pryor.
Yeah. Oh, and that was Harlem Nights.
Or that's Harlem Nights with Red Fox and
yeah.
Right.
And then Life he did with that other dude. I'm getting old.
With Martin Lawrence.
Martin Lawrence, yeah. I think that was 99, I think, 98, somewhere around
Life
there.
was good. I like that. I like Martin Lawrence.
Yeah. And
I enjoyed his television show.
Yeah.
I like that.
And damn, Gina.
Right? Back in the day where you had to have a catchphrase. We'll be right back.
So, yeah, that was great. Well, great choice, dude. Thanks, love this
buddy.
movie.
Thanks.
I always love movies. This movie I can always go back to. I could always go back to this movie. I
should have bought it. I rented it for 48 hours, and I'm like, man.
Well, it's like what Rich Eisen always says when he interviews actors. He says, "Oh yeah, this movie is it's a remote dropper. You know, if I'm flipping the channels and I see the movie, I'm just dropping the remote. I'm watching the rest of the movie. Mm-hmm. That's it. That's usually it for me, depending on what I'm doing. But if I'm at home doing nothing, then yeah, I'm watching it.
There you go.
So, yeah. So cool, man. So let's do. We'll do another one in another couple weeks.
Yep.
And we're going to do a scary one. Yeah.
Scary one for Halloween.
Yeah. Well, what I'll do, what I found is there's a community tab on my YouTube channel that I could kind of keep people posted on what we're going to do next.
Oh,
so
cool.
That will be on there next, or whatever we do.